This is Stacy Hughes from the Journals program at the Society of Petroleum Engineers. We're talking over Zoom on Tuesday, December 20th, 2022 with Dr. Fernando Samaniego-Verduzco, Professor Emeritus of Petroleum Engineering at UNAM and an AIME honorary member. Dr. Samaniego has long been an active participant in our Journals peer review program, and we've known each other for nearly 2 decades. This recording is part of AIME's Oral History Capture program. It's a delight to see you, Dr. Samaniego, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you today. So let's start with a part of your history I don't know. Tell me about where you grew up.
Yes, thank you, Stacy, for your nice, presentation of me. I was born in the north of Mexico. It's a small town in the state, the border state with U.S. It's called Coahuila, and the small town is La Madrid. So I studied my primary school in that small town, and then I have to go, at a nearby city for secondary school. Then I changed again to high school, and later I came to UNAM, where I studied Petroleum Engineering and also the Master of Sciences. And then later, of course, I went to the US to study my PhD.
Who or what influenced you to become an engineer?
Well, actually, it was just talking to my classmates at high school that were advanced 1 year, and they have started their studies at UNAM in petroleum engineering. I was kind of impressed somehow, because one of the important areas that at the time I did not quite recognize, reservoir engineering, then you are dealing with a system that is underneath a few kilometers. So you don't get to see what your main system which you need to work with. And that was kind of challenging, Stacy.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, at the time you began studying engineering, there were not a lot of petroleum engineering programs outside the U.S. What led you to choose petroleum engineering over other engineering options?
You see, in the early 60s, the Mexican Pemex company was highly respected by the Mexican population, and engineers, were kind of respected, not as, military personnel, but anyway, that kind of, caught my eyes, and I decided to study petroleum engineering.
Did any of your professors mentor you towards the path you chose?
Not at the time for the BS, Stacy. No, they were not aware of these studies, I believe, to the best of my recollection. But anyway, I have no doubt I made the right choice. As we all know, we need to work in what we enjoy. So the duties to be carried out, hopefully will be, completed in the optimum or best way.
Well, how about classmates? Were there any of your classmates that influenced your studies? Is there anyone in
No,
particular?
just what I mentioned, uh, classmates at high school that were advanced 1 year. Let's say I was, at the time, high school was for us 2 years, I mean, uh, and then they were in, I was in the second year, but they were already, graduated from high school and starting his studies in Mexico City. I was studying high school also in the north of Mexico.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Dr. Samaniego, tell us about your family.
Well, my original family, we call it in Mexico, we were two sons and one sister. And then we, anyway, we have a simple life. I told that before in a small town. Then I got married and we had two daughters and one son. Yes. And of course, I'm living in Mexico City. And that's perhaps just a brief, a description of my two families. The first and the married, family.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, Stacy.
Well, well, you came to the U.S. in the early 70s for your doctorate at Stanford. What inspired you to come to the U.S. at that time?
Well, at the end of the BS studies, we made like a 3 weeks industry trip or something to the states of Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, and we really enjoyed that, uh, fantastic opportunity to get to see or to know more about the states, and that was the beginning of my definite effort to go to the U.S. to study. At the time, there were no MS studies in Mexico City, or even, no graduate studies. And then, but I was lucky that just about that time, the IMP, which means Mexican Petroleum Institute, in translation, offered 12 scholarships. And then I was lucky to get one of those for the first generation, of MS studies. And that opened once again my way to the U.S. because we had a young professor coming from Venezuela, Dr. Sandrea, he studied in Penn State. And I talked to him in about the summer of 1970 about my ideas of continue to study, and he fully agreed with that and asked me to send my applications to University of Texas at Austin and Stanford University. I got admission to both of them at the end of 1970, and following his recommendations, I took the admission for Stanford.
What was that transition like for you? Was it a bit of a culture shock when you made that move to the United States?
Well, no, not quite, Stacy. As told you before, I was born in a border state, so I was used to go to a small town called Eagle Pass, Texas, and that was part of the motivation. Anyway, coming from a small town and going to Eagle Pass, even it was small, but it was a big change
Yeah. Oh, I can
for us. And
imagine. I
then,
can imagine.
but no, I had no problem. I believe, Stacy, my problem is that I studied in public schools with a little English, courses. So I was admitted to the universities, the two universities I just mentioned in the States, but when I took my TOEFL exam, the news were not good because I was in a rush, improving my English, but not fast enough. Then they requested me to go to a summer course, intensive 10 weeks. Yes, I enjoyed that. I got a distinction at the course.
Oh, I bet that had
I
to
remember.
been
And then
difficult.
I started in the fall, quarter 1971, but still I got tired after my third class in the morning. I had four, I remember, but I had trouble to keep alert, to concentrate in the fourth class. My first quarter, the grades, were okay, but I had to, I think of improving my, my grades, my academic work, and I, my approach was simple to consider the first day of January 72, as it were the first day of finals. So then my grades by that second quarter were good, and they were kept good for the 6 quarters that I had to take courses before taking the qualifying exams.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Well, what did you find most rewarding about being a professor?
Well, you see, being in touch with young people, somehow they motivate you to, you know, uh, they are eager to learn
Yes.
and see what useful from the professor they could, take as example anyway. Uh, for the last more than 12 years now, I have been the faculty sponsor of the UNAM student chapter, SPE, and, and that gives me a close touch with bright students
Exactly. It's a
because
great
we,
opportunity.
but because bright, the Petrobol competition.
Well, I wanted
Yes,
to look at your CV includes an impressive list of students you've trained who have gone on to outstanding academic or professional careers. One name that stood out to me was Dr. Edgar Rangel German, who helped
yes,
establish the National Hydrocarbons Commission and who died suddenly in 2016. Can you tell us a bit about your collaboration with him?
oh yes. Edgar was part of a small group at the School of Engineering. They call it the high something performance students, students with average higher than 9. In a range of 10. And and he was about to start his seventh semester in Mexico. But the BS is about the petroleum engineering BS is 10 semesters, and it could be 11 because 10 they take courses, and then 11 is used for the writing of the BS reports. Edward, of course, was very different. He's the only student in the history of petroleum engineering at UNAM that has been able to keep a 100 clean average in almost 100 years of the BS studies in petroleum engineering at UNAM.
Oh, that's
His report, just to mention, BS report before going to Stanford again for MS and PhD, was published in the Journal of Petroleum Science. I'm sorry, it's not to go for the SP. He wanted to go for the Elsevier anyway, but anyway. Yeah, it was, of course, we always had a very close relationships. Yes, but it's unfortunate that he died young anyway.
Yes, it's a huge tragedy. You haven't only been an educator. You have spent part of your career leading important research for the Mexican Petroleum Institute and the Electric Research Institute and Pemex. You've conducted several research projects on geothermal reservoirs. Now that there is more focus on geothermal resources, I suspect that your work is getting more attention now. So what led you to conduct research on geothermal when you did, and how will it help in developing these resources today?
Oh yes, Stacy, I was lucky. I was a student of Dr. Hank Ramey, at Stanford, and he was one of the pioneers in geothermal reservoir engineering. Actually, I took his first course in geothermal reservoir engineering back in '74. I was always close to him, but my main advisor was Dr. Bill Brigham, also a pioneer in geothermal reservoir engineering. I always had a good relationship with both of them until they passed away anyway. Yeah. And then that was my motivation. I was offered this job at the Electric Research Institute, and I started the geothermal reservoir engineering program. I left the institute, well, because I got two offers from Pemex, and then I will talk to you about this part of my career in a moment.
Well, then what are some of the biggest technical challenge you have experienced during your career?
Yes, I spent just about 3 years working at the Pemex offices, and they asked me a different, duties to take care of, but I enjoy very much working with the gas fields in the north of Mexico, and also with the giant ACAL, which is a Mayan word, or later called Cantarell giant oil field. Many exciting problems arise, and that very useful for me to work with.
Well, with the support of Pemex, you helped to establish the doctoral program in petroleum engineering at UNAM. Can you tell us a bit about that experience and why you thought that it was important?
Oh yes, At the time, I talked to you about there were no PhD studies, and in the middle of 1979, there were four of us with PhD studies, all in the U.S. I mean that we have gone to schools in the U.S. But two of them were actually working in the U.S. at that time, and the remaining two, one was at CFE, Federal Electricity Commission, working in geothermal, reservoir engineering, and myself at the Electric Research Institute. Then FEMEX devised a plan to offer good job conditions for us to come back to the oil industry. And we all came back.
Oh, wonderful.
So I was traveling and teaching, and I was young, so I could,
Very busy.
work. I still work long hours, but at the time, I was, working longer hours.
Well, because of your UNAM's agreement with PEMEX, your graduate students are able to help solve real field problems as part of their research. Can you tell us a bit about what that partnership has meant to you and to your students?
Well, yes, it's difficult sometimes to get information, I mean, about the oil fields, but somehow the engineers trust us, and we of course will not do a bad use, and it is a benefit for the company, benefit for us, for the students. So it's kind of an ideal deal that everybody gets something, to improve. We develop thesis, reports, projects regarding problems that are important for the company. We have done that at least from let's say at least from 89, up to date.
Oh, goodness. That's impressive. Well, you've been very successful in developing UNAM's Petroleum team, becoming the first non-U.S. university to win the competition. Congratulations. Tell us a bit about how team members are selected, how you inspire them, and what winning or placing well has meant to your students' education.
Yes, Stacy, thank you. That's one of my favorite topics anyway. The Petroleum, as we perhaps Glenn and you know, started in 2002. It was sponsored at that time by the Gulf Coast section, SP, and it was exclusive to U.S. universities up to 2009. But in 2010, they opened the competition for foreign universities, and we went to the nice city of Florence. But the SP was the first time that went abroad for the the ATCE. No? We prepared in a short time, about 3 months, but nevertheless, I believe we had the highest score first round, but for the second round, we had trouble with the English, of our team, and anyway, we lost the second round.
Oh,
But
well, that's still
we
a huge
got,
accomplishment.
yes, we got the ninth, position at that time, ninth out of 32, I believe. And then we went 2011 we were fifth, and 2012 we were second.
That's fantastic.
So we were going
Huge
out.
track record.
Yes, we have to wait until 2015 when we got the first Petro board, but we also got the MVP. The SPE has awarded in 21 competitions up to today, only 6 MVPs. So UNAM has the 2012, when we were second, we also got the MVP, and 2015. So we got 2, and we are the only university that has 2. The other 4 are in US universities. And that's, and last, in September, at the Dallas meeting, we reached the top of the competition. The 9 competitions, as I was saying, we got to the top, and we stayed at the top only until January 2021. We were happy to be at the top, the only university, foreign university, that has had that has held that position anyway. And that's the long story anyway. We do have at this moment at least 3 to 4 companies, service companies that are our supporters. Even we have not had the best results that we could recently anyway, but we are working anyway. That relation is good for us. I mean, it's a needed, a must be relation with the industry.
Well, how do you view your role in terms of helping to build the pipeline of qualified future employees for our industry?
Well, we at the university always aim for the higher standards. We would like our students to have the best standard possible. I mean, by that I mean that the level of the studies be comparable, can be compared to the US and European petroleum engineering departments. It's difficult, but if we, dedicate the effort, it could be possible, and that's what we, in simple words, that we do. We do try to hire professors, and we have a lot of consulting professors that come from the industry to teach in Saturdays, evenings, and that helps us a lot anyway.
It's really important. What is your proudest professional accomplishment?
Well, Stacy, I believe one main point is that, I had for the first time in my mind the idea of studying a PhD, because at the time there were no professional with these higher studies in Mexico. And the road was not easy to go through, but at the end, well, everything came out okay. That's, I believe, my biggest professional, let's say, change uh, improvement to open these studies for the engineers in Mexico. We do not have that many, but anyway, I don't know, maybe 50 or so at the time now. No? This, of course, improve, as we know, the way we solve the problems in the industry.
It's fantastic. In 2005, you were named a foreign member of the National Academy of Engineering in the U.S., also a high honor. How did you come to receive this honor?
Well, you know better than me how how it works in the U.S. When somebody picks your name for an award, they just ask for your CV, and that's all. The first time, I believe I have not mentioned, but Mr. Michael Prats, who is my friend, asked me in 95, I believe, of 94 maybe. I met him in 1990 when he came for the Mexican national meeting, and it was just by chance that I met him. And so anyway, we spent his wife, my wife, and Fernando, our son at the time, 3 years old, and we went to a national meeting in a nearby nice city by the name of Querétaro. And then after, we kept, close. He has been very helpful to me anyway, kind of mentor. He is, 20 years older than me. Yeah. And still going on.
It's a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. Well,
Yeah.
then in 2006, you were awarded the National Award of Science and Arts in Technology and Design, which is the highest distinction awarded by the Mexican federal government, which is a great honor. Can you tell us a bit about how that came about?
Well, yes. Yes, this awards has, let's say, one for technology, one for what we call it like mathematics and physics, and then four for arts, and a total of six. Anyway, well, it's the committee, like I believe any committee in the SP, spend time and decide in a careful way who is going to be, awarded with this prize. And it was a very nice experience to meet the president of Mexico at the time. It was good and enjoyable occasion. Of course, these awards have both the National Academy have been very helpful, and it was a very nice, I believe, coincidence at the time, because the Academy was the 9th of October in Washington, Sunday, I mean, and then the ATCE in Dallas was starting that afternoon, Sunday. So after the induction ceremony in Washington, we, went to Dallas for the honorary membership award. Next day, Monday, that means 10th of 2005.
It's really exciting. Well, you've always been active in SPE, and you've chaired the Mexico section in hold both distinguished member and honorary member status. You were awarded one of SPE's highest technical honors, the Lester C. Urin Award for technology contributions made before age 45. Tell us what it was like to receive this recognition.
Yes, yes. I enjoy, of course, very much. It was at the beginning of 2004 that I got the news from SPE about this important award, but I want to tell you a short story. I worked for at least 20 or more years with no expectation, Stacy, of getting awards. I went to the ATCE every year anyway, starting from 75, but I also went to the 73 while being a student to the ATCE. But I did not have expectations, Stacy. Just I worked as best as I could. But all of a sudden, Mr. Prats and perhaps some other SP members started to look at my CV, and I got the two highest, awards: the honorary member and the National Academy of Engineering, membership. But as I told you, I believe being. I did not work for the awards. That's what I'm trying to say. They just came all of a sudden.
It's just
something like that.
That's even more exciting that it came unexpected and you weren't planning for it. So that's really exciting. Well, you've been a longtime peer reviewer for SPE's journals and have an impressive list of publications of your own. While publishing is always important for professors, your level of dedication to peer review has been notable. What do you see as the real value of peer review?
Well, first I'd like to tell you that my first committee was the editorial review committee back in 1983. Dr. Ragavan was kind enough to, ask me to be a member of the committee. He was editor or something. I forget what he was at the time, 1983. So I stayed. I started with that committee, and then a bunch of committees
That's impressive.
came afterwards. Yes. I enjoy all of them anyway. As we know, peer review gives as a result papers that the readers, trust upon. I mean, because the paper meetings are just selected based on the abstract, but for the published papers, 2, perhaps 3 reviewers carefully spend hours to check every aspect, and then the reader is, sure that whatever just about is written is right, and then can apply that to improve the way they work. I believe that's the main value of peer review.
It's important. It's a big part of it.
Stacy, to have papers that people can trust.
Well, if you were to recommend SPE to a new graduate, what would you tell him or her about being a member?
Well, the SPE is the most important society for petroleum engineers, and I encourage always students to be student members. That's the first step. And thanks to our sponsors, it's free for the students. As we know, currently, um, we have changed sponsors, but anyway, that's good for the students. It's our best source of technical information, of course, the SPE. Now kept in the, this system One Petro, called One Petro, which is a big collection of hundreds of thousands, I guess, papers anyway. Yes, whenever I came, I asked the students, asked the professionals to join the SPE. And I guess we can lead somehow by example, Stacy. I mean, I have been members since 1972 myself, and somehow what we do is, is taken into account for some other people somehow, and they also want to join SPE.
It's fantastic. In your opinion, what can we do to attract young people to the industry?
I can advise people to come to work for the industry, because up to this time has been the main energy provider and is expected to keep this important role for the next few decades of the so-called energy transition. The energy transition, of course, is okay, there's no problem, but the oil industry will remain important. And no people, young students, will not have to worry much about what they will do. At the end, they have the knowledge to work in related areas like geothermal energy, we have talked about this morning, and also hydrogeology.
Mm-hmm.
Water will always be important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Well, what has made working in oil and gas meaningful to you? Is there anything specific that is more meaningful to you?
I really have enjoyed, I talked about before, working in the industry. And something that has been also useful for me is that I had both approaches, the industry approach and the academic approach. And then I could, in the past and in the present, help or take the best from one area to another and the other way around. That's my point of view, Stacy.
What advice would you have for today's young leaders in the engineering profession?
Well, keep close to our society, the SPE, and of course to AIME. At the time of the honorary membership, the first news that I got from it was a letter, and we are not used to letters these days, but anyway, from the AIME. Keep in touch. It would be a nice, best way of networking and improve whatever duties you have to work with at the industry or also in the universities. In the universities, due to limited resources, we need to have a close connection to the industry.
Well, as we wrap up our interview today, is there anything else you would like to share with us that comes to mind?
I want to say, Stacy, that the future of our industry is bright. We should not be afraid of the energy transition. It's a needed change, but a change that we will share with the new energy sources. We recently, last week, I believe, we have news from the U.S. Government about the big discovery of the how do you say? I'm not used to the pronunciation, fission, I believe, the nuclear energy. But good news will come, but our industry will survive for a few decades anyway. I don't know how long, but at least 30 or more. That's what all the experts can have been. Telling us about. Yes, I already talked about that the knowledge of the petroleum engineers are good enough, well rooted in physics and math, and then based on this knowledge they can go to work in another areas. Then come to the industry, come to the schools. The number of 400 graduates that I read in recent weeks at the US, well, it's low, but I hope that soon the number of graduates will increase in accordance to the needs of the industry.
Well, I love your positive outlook. I think that's quite impressive. And what an exciting life and career you've had, Dr. Samaniego. This has been a true delight. And I'd like to thank you for sharing your story with us today with AIME, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Yes, I want to thank you, AIME, SPE, and you, Stacy, Glenda, and Michelle, for picking my name for this interview. It was long due for 2019 when we went to Calgary. Okay, yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to talk to you.